We are 1 minute early. 1 minute early. This is what it looks like 1 minute before the show actually starts.
All right, cool. Whew, I'm done eating.
That's Joe in the background. He's over there. Like, over there.
Are you facing north?
Right now? Uh-huh. We're live, but we're not live yet.
Yeah, so Chicago.
But I decided to go early because I wanted to give people a backstage view. This is what happens.
Literally nothing.
Yeah, nothing. But I guess maybe it's official now. I'm here. Joe, so everybody's fucking busy right now. You know what they're doing? They're getting ready for RapsCon.
That is true. That and the floodgates have opened up. So everybody has work beyond means. That's the first time I've literally been in the industry where people are saying, I can't find installers, I can't find installers, I can't find installers.
You can't find installers. You can't find installers. This is the first time?
Yeah.
Fuck, I've been saying that for years.
For me, for the people that are around me in my city in Houston, that's the big thing. Can't find installers. So sorry about my technical difficulties.
It's not a technical difficulty. You look good, man. Did you just get a haircut?
Yeah, actually I did.
Do you go to like a barber, like a legit barber?
Yeah, she's my daughter.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. Yeah, man, she graduated high school in 2020. No, I'm sorry, not 2019 with her cosmetology degree cosmetology certificate. And went to work for one of these local chains. And then from there, she went and she actually works for a company called Diesel. And they're a barber shop that kind of caters to men, or men's haircuts, I should say. They do like beard shaves and goatee shaves, stuff like that. But it's really cool. It's pretty. I like the atmosphere there. It doesn't look like it's corporate, but it does. But it is run by a corporation. Kind of got like graffiti on the walls. Their stations are all like mechanic toolbox setups. So it's really cool. But she's been cutting hair for since 2019, and just getting better and better every time. Her goal is, matter of fact, I talked to her today. Her goal is to open up her own barbershop. But it's number one, it's difficult in the barber shop arena for a female to be a barber, but it can be done. She just has to work hard.
Did you tell her? Did you tell her she shouldn't go into business for herself because it's a fucking nightmare that she doesn't even know what's coming? Or did you just try to encourage her and tell her everything's awesome?
I don't know. She knows everything's not awesome because she's seen the struggles that go on, that I've done in the last 20 years. But I can't say that I would trade this. Even as much as sometimes it's upside down, I just can't say that I would trade it.
Is that just because you're unemployable now?
define employable, because I think
You could, let me ask you this. Put yourself in a situation right now after being in business. How long you been in business by yourself, Joe?
21,
Huh?
21 years.
All right. So 21 years you haven't had a boss other than the plethora of customers. Because that's one thing that you don't understand. You can never get out of the fact that you have to serve someone. You can't ever get out of that, ever. Even if you're just an investor sitting on millions, you're going to have to serve the people that you invest with. You're going to have to serve. So,
But I think life is of service. I mean,
yeah.
that's just so you can either be of service to your clients, you can be of service to your business. I mean, your boss or whatever that might be, or you can be of service to volunteer. My wife is a huge volunteer for an organization called Pug Hearts of Houston, and they rescue pugs.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
We are,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
As far as I mean, they even have gone as far as to rescue pugs from the meat markets of China. She's been on 2 trips to LA to pick up pugs that have come in from China, and they brought them over. They were rescued from basically on a truck going to a meat market, and they stop the trucks. They get the pugs, take them to a safe house, and it is literally called a safe house. And then they work on trying to get them over on international flights, which with COVID was extremely difficult. And then they meet up with a couple other rescues. One's a rescue from LA. Um, and then they partnered up with Pug Hearts of Houston, and she flew out there, brought uh, 30 back the first time. No. Yeah, and then the second time she bought back 14. Yeah, we brought 25. Oh, sorry, 25 back the second time she went. But in total they did 3 trips to LA. We rescued 130 to rescue 130 pugs and pug mixes, if you will, back from China.
How does she not want to keep all of the dogs that she falls in love with? Like, that's the issue. Like, my wife, and here's why I want to dive down into it. It's totally selfish, personal thing. But my wife loves dogs unequivocally more than people. Because the argument could be made that dogs are just better natured than people, right? And that's a whole nother discussion we could have. But she's like, I want to go help these dogs and do fostering and all of that. And I'm like, yeah, but if you foster a dog, you're going to want to keep it. Like, if you open the door to that, we're going to have 8 dogs running around all the time. So how does she let go of the dogs that are in need?
Okay, so here's how it went. My wife is a big, huge animal person. I'm talking like she's probably had it, for the exception of a snake. Oh, I had a snake. Oh, she had a snake. My bad. So I've met her since I've met her. Been with her for 10 years, a little over 10 years. So we've had a chinchilla, a ferret, cats, dogs, 120-gallon salt water tank, a rabbit. Um, that's what I've been a part of. Now she's had a lot of other animals growing up. So we had a couple of dogs, and at one point in time we just didn't they had either moved on or switched jobs, stuff like that. So we ended up having one dog, my dog. My Frenchie, his name is Stitch. You'll meet him. Yeah, she said I say that loosely. You'll meet him at RapsCon because he flies everywhere with me. But we had Stitch. So she was the kind of person that would scour Craigslist and places like that and look at puppies and okay. She said she had Pooh Bear, which is her pug. She loves pugs anyway. But so she would scour the internet for dogs that were either for sale, being rescued, blah blah blah. So she found pug hearts, and she had known about them for a minute. But before that, we were part of a rescue in Houston that just was, man, so freaking unorganized, and just, I don't know. In my opinion, they were horrible because they weren't. There was no organization there. And coming from me, um, the most unorganized person ever, that's a lot to say. Well, in June of last year, she wanted to become a foster. So she became a foster, and our first dog that we fostered was that what you're talking about, foster fail.
He wasn't a foster fail. We met him and picked him out before we fostered. Right. He wasn't a foster fail.
Okay, so he wasn't a foster fail.
Oh my God, I love this.
So I'm about to bring her on the podcast, and she's going to sit right next to me. But so he wasn't a foster
fail. Does she know that yet?
What?
Right here. I'm cleaning the kitchen.
Okay.
So we met her. We met the dog. His name is Lilo, of course, from Lilo and Stitch. I know Lilo is a girl in the movie, but
he's a girl.
He's special. Anyway,
I thought it was Lilo.
The agreement was that we were going to do 4 max. And honestly, when we went into it, we kind of had the ideology that we're just going to be fosters, and we weren't really going to fail with any of them. Just because I think if you go into the mentality of, I want to rescue all these dogs, you could slip into that. For me, anyway. I don't know about her, but for me, you could slip into that whole, I'm going to adopt them all. But so the thing that we always talk about is, if you adopt them all, if you fail with all of them, then you can't help more. So we've had, what, 15?
16, yeah, 16.
15 or 16 since June that have come in and gone out. We have failed twice.
We didn't fail on Lilo.
We failed twice.
This is awesome. This is the dynamics of a relationship right now going on. I fucking love it. Keep going. We're all.
Come here.
No, you doesn't have to see me. We met Lilo before we were approved to foster. We were choosing him. Labby, on the other hand, was a complete fail.
So Lavender is our frug. She is a Frenchie pug. Was really abused to the point to where she was bred a number of times before she was 3. Completely set apart. There's a lot of places in the Rio Grande Valley towards the south of us that are just puppy mills. And so Lavender was brought in around April.
No, she was
March. And so Heather had been following Labby for a while, and she was with another foster. Well, the foster had a number of dogs, and it was just to the point to where Lavender was, she was very comfortable with a lot of dogs. She was very comfortable in a pack, but she wasn't comfortable with people. And so in December, we talked to the pug, or the director of the rescue, and I told her that I think that she would do better if she was with someone that didn't have a huge pack and had more people than dogs. And at the time, we had our 2 adult daughters living here, along with her youngest son, he's 14, and he was 14 at the time. He's 15 now, and then us. Well, the director thought it was an amazing idea, so we changed the fosters from where she was at to where she is now with us. So we didn't treat her any different. She's considered a feral dog because she just doesn't get along, or she's very scared of people, skittish of people. She's not aggressive by any means. She's just not a very people person. But we went on about our business. Lots of people, lots of changing of the guard, lots of changing of scenery and things like that, challenging her to step out of everything. And to this day, she still won't jump on a couch with us, but she's so much better than where she was whenever she got here. So we failed with her. According to Heather, that's our only foster fail. But we have.
What do you get out of it? Joe. What do you get out of it personally?
For me, I support her. This is her. Like, she's amazingly happy at this. Two things that my wife completely adores: children under the age of 2, because she's a full-time nanny.
But 3, fuck them.
Oh my God. She's like,
oh, I don't like them at 3. Give them to me back when they're 4.
Yeah.
3's the witching hour for her. She just doesn't like them. But she's a nanny who specializes in multiples. So it's either twins or triplets that she nannies for. The family she currently has right now is a set of twins and a 5-year-old. Their older brother's 5. So that's what she does. Like, babies and dogs are her thing. So, dude, that puts a smile on her face. I could care less. Right now, currently, we have 6 dogs in the house.
You have 6 what?
6 dogs in the house.
6 dogs.
Uh-huh.
Wait a minute. How? Okay, if you don't mind me asking, how many square feet is your home?
3,000.
3,000 square feet.
6 dogs.
They're little though.
But they're pugs. They're small.
Can I see one?
Sure.
Let me find the cute one.
Who's the cute one?
I don't know.
The cute one.
Hold
That's
on.
awesome.
Hold on one second.
You name them? You can't get a bunch of dogs and then name them. Oh my God! Closer to the dog's face. Come on, let me see it. Oh, look how fucking cute he is.
That's Mickey.
This is Mickey.
Oh my God!
Here,
Where did pugs come from? Do you know?
China. As she would say.
So
China.
they are Asian dogs then.
This is Minnie.
This is his counterpart. This is Minnie.
Dude, I couldn't name a dog and leave it. You know what? I might be talking about the fact.
We don't really name them. The director usually does, but she lets us name them because we like to.
Here.
But I can tell you, the joy in someone's face when you give the dog to them is why we do it. I
want to point something out. Oh my God, look at that.
This is Stitch.
He's a hot
Yeah,
mess.
see, I think maybe I don't want my wife to foster dogs because I might want to keep them. Like, I think it's a secret thing. Don't tell her. But I think it might be a secret thing. Like, I don't want to fall in love and be like, honey, don't worry about it. You're already taking one to go out to pee. Why can't you do another one? It's not a big deal. Look how fucking cute he is. I think I might try to sell her on it. And she doesn't need any help.
So here's the deal. She told me when she started. Hold on one second.
This is Charlie.
So this is another feral dog that we have, and this is Charlie. She looks like she's petrified.
She is.
But
do you see her mohawk?
Oh my God! See, nope, I couldn't do it. No.
So she came to us, and I'll show you a video later on of her where she wouldn't even move. She was kept in a garage with 9 other dogs in the dark, and that's where she came out of. So for 5 days straight, she was in our bathroom and pretty much backed in a corner for all 5 of those days until we slowly, or I should say, Heather slowly laid down next to her and she started wagging her tail. About a month after that, she really started coming out of her shell, and she's an amazing dog. Like, she's pretty much a taller Chihuahua, but she's a sweetheart. I really like her. I don't care for her bark much because she's got this high pitched bark. It's like, oh my God, shut up, Charlie. But So the agreement was, when Heather started this foster, was she told me from the very beginning, you won't have to do anything. You don't have to pick up any dog poop. You don't have to pick up any. You don't have to do any accidents. You don't have to do anything. I'm going to do it all. And
Did that
okay,
work
cool.
out? Is that how it played out at all?
Yeah, 100%. But
100%.
I do help her. But like, she wakes up every morning. She takes all 6 of them out, feeds all of them. I get up about 15, 20 minutes later than her. I take a shower. I come out. They're pretty much already done. But it's weird to say, like, she enjoys that. Like, she enjoys taking care of those dogs. And I help when if I come home and things are a little disarray or she's running late, I'll feed the dogs and get them all set up. And you have to understand that my wife is hyper organized. So everything is set. So when she has things ready to go, it's set. So all I have to do is just kind of go through the things, and the bowls are already ready to go. I know where they go. So I kind of play the dummy when it comes down to it and do all that if that's the case. But that was her agreement with me, and I just, like I said, I try to do my very best. What I do like is that we're on an actual foster page where you would be amazed at how many dogs in the last month have been either owner surrendered, abandoned, found on the street. And we're talking about specifically majority pug mixes. So we're not talking about like just all dogs in general. We're talking about specific kinds of dogs: pug mix, bugs, which are Boston pugs, frogs, which are Fritchie pugs, chugs, which are Chihuahua pugs. For the most part, they all look like pugs. Over the last month, I would have to say at least 50 to 60 dogs. So they're like, need a pickup on this side of town. So I don't mind going and picking them up. So again, like I said, our limit was 4 in the beginning. Well, we've had up to 8, but the 8 only lasted for a day because somebody else picked up a pug. But right now we have 6. Up until yesterday, we had 7. I took one to work with me yesterday, which got adopted from a guy in Louisiana. So, but our limit's usually around 5, 6. But if they need help, we don't mind going out there and grabbing a couple. And now, some pugs will last for a week in foster. Some pugs are hospice, and they'll stay in that foster for the rest of their living life on Earth.
I can't imagine what they had to go through before that. That sounds horrible.
All the pugs that we do go through a vetting, go through an intake, and then they go through a quality of life.
What's the quality of life?
So they have to be able to function on their own for the most part. Like, we have a couple of dogs that are they're called Heelys.
Oh, the ones that are in wheelchairs?
Yeah. I mean, they're in wheelchairs. They look like gladiators. So they have 2 wheels on the back, and then they haul ass and they go from there. There's some other dogs that are winkies, which means they only have one eye.
Winky?
Uh-huh. And they only have one eye. There's some dogs that are blind, but as long as they're eating and as long as they're playing and as long as they're doing their thing, they're not suffering in any way. The vet will tell us whether it's yes or no, and we kind of go on with that. We've had some dogs that have come in completely, like, man, it's just some of the dogs that the organization has rehabilitated is just crazy. Dog last year came in completely set up with mange, looked like a Chinese crested with basically scabs all over his body. And his name is Raphael, and one of the fosters took him in, and now he's perfectly happy, probably a year old.
Did I tell you that my wife watches those videos on YouTube where the dog is in dire need of help and it's the most sad shit ever. Like I think it might be the saddest things I've ever seen. And I have a hard time watching it, but she loves watching them because at the end they get fixed. I mean, they get taken care of. So it really isn't.
I'll show you a video of Charlie, and at the time I had one of my I have a garden, so at one time I had one of them that we hadn't planted anything in it yet, or it was brand new, so it's kind of just dirt, so it was soft on her paws, and we put her inside of it, and she literally looked like she didn't know how to use her legs at all whatsoever. But then she comes out, she finally gets out onto the grass, and then she just kind of scuttles into my wife's lap, and then she lays her head down. We took her from someone from a dog that wouldn't let you get near to her without her lips, to now, like, as soon as I sit on the couch, she's going to sit on my lap. Problem. And she's, like I said, just the sweetest dog. But
I think what I'm gonna do now is first I'm gonna tell you how awesome you are and your family, and then I'm going to tie in what I see with dogs with the entire wrap industry, and we're gonna take a drastic left turn or right turn, not sure, into talking about graphics. So first thing is, one thing that I've loved about you since I met you is that you have a value structure that the foundation is a family, right? Where you take care of them the way that, they need to be taken care of. And sure, sometimes you fail at that, but you have a heart to want to be that. Like, that's in there. And I think, in the light of what you said before about service, I think that the ability to serve your family in ways and say things and actually mean them, like, what would you like? Can I help you get what you want? Right? You do that. You did that with your wife. You're like, hey man, like, dogs really aren't, but you drew a line. There's a that you can apply all this stuff to customers too. You drew a line and you're like, okay, but I'm not cleaning up dog shit. Right? And you're like, that's.
But I didn't even. The funny part about it, she goes, "You drew it in chalk, which means it's not permanent." So
yeah, well, she's the kryptonite that can erase all of whatever you ever draw, because she's your world.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And again, like you said, I mean, my family is, well, let's put it this way. I didn't value family as much as I do now, and that is all because of her and her family, if that makes sense. Like, her dad, when I asked for her hand in marriage, her dad looked at me and he goes, "I couldn't be more proud, but I want you to understand that you're a part of our family now." And when he said family, that meant, like, way different than the family that I know. Like, my family is close-ish. We kind of have our own things. We kind of do our own things. Her family is very, on her dad's side, is on all their side. They're very close. Like, they keep in touch with each other. They talk to each other. So it was, when I got with her, that was one of those things where that became illuminated for me, to where I can understand that is massively important. And so, we've had discussions before about work-life balance and everything else. And I think focusing on one or the other thing, it's all great. But, my father passed away in January. And so that put a sense of mortality into me that I didn't think I would ever really understand. But now it seems like everything that I do is about that moment. I try. Now, there's lots of times when my mind will go elsewhere, but I really try to focus on trying to be present. I try to focus on I want to be home. You know, when I'm at work, I do what I do. I do what I can at work. I leave early. I leave when she leaves, and I come home probably shortly after, or after she comes home. But I'm excited about coming home. I love being at home. I love being around my wife. I love, talking to her. I love our disagreements at times. Um, but that's important to me. So yeah, of course, when we go to work, we go to work. But I was in a relationship where, I didn't want, I wanted to go get away and go to work, and I didn't want to come home. Now it's kind of the opposite. But I mean, to take that right turn, for 21 years I've been in business. For 16 of those, I played business. So I didn't know whether I was doing it right, doing it wrong. And to this day, I'm still reaching out to people and talking to people and trying to find something that fits and something that I can understand. Because a lot of people, um, coaches, people in the industry, mentors, all those people, if they don't speak, or if you don't hear what the message they're doing, maybe because they speak a different vocabulary, maybe it's because they're just on a different level, maybe the assumption is that you know something before you don't. Being in the business for 21 years doesn't mean that we're highly successful, or I know all the P&Ls, or I know all this, or I know all the data numbers and everything else. It just means that I've somehow lasted for 21 years in a building, doing work for people and doing the work that I love. So
I always said in the beginning, I remember it probably went on for maybe 18 months, 2 years, where I would start to feel anxious, like this whole fucking thing's going to fall apart at any moment, because it's so fragile. Like when you start a new business, and especially when you're by yourself in the very, very beginning, you start to think, oh my God, how the fuck am I going to make this work? I mean, if you're actually starting from zero. If you're not starting from zero, you might not get those feelings until you lose everything and then have to start over, and then you'll have them. But when you're going through that, the thing that got me through it was I still sleep inside. My lights are on. My phone is connected. And though I might have to have some disagreements and arguments and shuffle some things, I can sleep inside. And I'm with people that I love.
So year 1 to year 13 and a half, 14, I'll be extremely honest with you, as I always am with you. I didn't worry about that. Like, I was so dumb, or so, what's the word I'm looking for? So ignorant to the fact of how business ran, and my drive to never quit something, never ever, those thoughts never came into my brain. Like, that's the weird part about it. Those thoughts didn't come into my brain until year 16, 17. And they coincide with the years, because I started in 2000. So 2016, 2017, when I started really putting the things to what I say legitimize the company, when those things came to play, that's when I started to start to stress out about those. But before then, dude, ignorance was bliss. I didn't think I was going to fail. I didn't think, what happens at this. Yeah, I was in a marriage in probably 2006, 2007. Dude, I was selling my CD players or my DVD players or whatever I could to the pawn shop for $25, just so I could grab some bread, some ground beef, maybe some top ramen, just to make sure I did that. I was one year I was over $4,000 in the arrears of something. Either their rent was 30 days late, a car note they were fixing to repo, the lights were fixing to get turned off, or they did get turned off. And in 2 days, I went to work and got 4,000, almost the exact amount in deposits, so I could get everything taken care of, just to get to less than zero. But like you said, I turned the power back on, had the house, or the apartment or whatever it was, had a car to drive. So I guess for me,
wait a minute, when that was happening, and there's a lot of walls around you. There's a lot of feelings that get stirred up while that's happening. So, and it probably, we could say it's not the brightest moment of your feeling of your life, right?
Right.
It's difficult. So when you got to that point, what was that sentence that went through your head that made you turn around and say, no, I'm not accepting this?
At that particular moment, my two girls that was the only thing that I was thinking about. Making sure that my girls had something to eat, making sure my girls had electricity and a place to stay, and to make sure that I could get them to school. My two daughters, that was the only thing that drove me at that point.
And this was that all going on at the same time of the transition from you being married to not being married?
That happened. That was in 2006 or 7. That happened in 2013. And that was when went through bad breakup. I decided to move out of the apartment that I was living in, just so my daughters could have some sense of normalcy, and stay with their mom. And I either lived at the office, lived in a hotel, lived at a crash at a friend's house, whatever that might be. But the 6 to 8 months prior to that, I just wanted to quit. I really, honestly, I really just wanted to get away from all the pain of everything that was going on. The marriage was falling apart. My business it wasn't making money because I wasn't there. So that was the hard part about that. But sleeping in the office, kind of getting back into designs, kind of doing all that stuff, all that, dude, like it just kind of, it changed. Like something was like, no, wait a minute. You fought this hard for 13 years, figure it out. And so that's what changed. And then, so the only thing I had to think about was making sure that I got to spend time with my girls on the weekend, which I pretty much got them almost every weekend. And then just putting everything I had into the business every single day. So I kind of surrounded myself with some close friends, and then just kept doing that. So when I had all that done, it was one of those things where a light bulb kind of went off. Was like, okay, I do like this. I can do this. And so, it only takes a spark, and then you can kind of ignite a fire. And that's what I had, was a spark. I got a little bit of a breath of fresh air, just to be able to think, be able to get away from it. But don't get me wrong. Like I said, the relationship was rough, and then it got rougher, and then it got worse. So that didn't go away. That just went to phone calls as opposed to face-to-face arguments. So, but that was my beacon was having image. And so you and I have talked about that.
And you mean, when you say having image, you mean your graphics company, yes?
Yeah,
image
having
graphics, yeah.
So you and I have talked about the cartoon where it's two guys and they're digging a tunnel, and one stops about 3 feet shy from the goal. Well, for me, that was always the thing. I'm not looking for I guess my carrot was always, if I quit today, if I quit this month, what there could be something that's going to be a client that I meet, something like that, that's going to change the whole thing. I don't necessarily think that anymore, because I'm going to create a company that's even better at creating experience and value for my clients. But I'm not banking on one deal making the whole entire company. I'm not doing that anymore. I used to, but
Like
I
you
think,
were looking for your lottery ticket?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But doesn't at that time the
Is
ones
that
that don't.
because you had one lottery ticket? Did you have one big job that came in? You're like, oh my God, if I could just do that 2 or 3 more times.
If I could show you a picture of my Christmas tree in 2015 or 16, I got a job. We did spot graphics, RTA graphics, whatever you want to call them, in West Virginia, Oklahoma, and Texas. The job was for $89,000. I went and picked up a cash deposit of $36,000. That Christmas.
Wait a minute. I don't want to leave this moment right now. You just said you picked up $36,000 in cash.
Cash.
Right. So imagine what would happen to you if you legitimately got $36,000 in cash. Granted, you had to do some work, but you had $36,000 of cash totally on the up and up with what you were doing in your life that could be like a real career, and you get $36,000 in cash.
So here's the thing.
I don't know. I just want to feel that for a second.
This is what's going to make you feel even more. So when I come home with this backpack full of $36,000 in cash, I show Heather, and Heather goes, at the time, she goes, "That's more than I make in an entire year." Feel that one. So that one right there, and that was just the deposit.
Yeah, but what did that make you feel like, though? I mean, come on, you had to feel
of Christmas.
Okay.
This, I'm telling you, was the most obnoxious. I probably would never do this again, but it was the most obnoxious Christmas that I've ever done.
What was just some of your favorite things to buy?
Dude, we bought everything. Everything my kids wanted. And again, it was more for my. I mean, I spent
wait a minute. So you're saying you could get your whole kids' Christmas list? Like if they give you a list, you're like, okay, yes to all of those things. Is that what you're saying? And then you're like, yeah.
No, I did that, and the sad part about it is I did that, and then I probably added 3 or 4 more. And we're not talking about 3 or 4 more $20 things. We're talking about 3 or 4 more $200 or $300 things.
How do you feel about remembering that now? Do you feel like that was a good decision, like that feeling was worth it, or did you feel the downside of it later and you're like, nah, that wasn't, I didn't need to do that?
I didn't need to do it, but I'll never, ever forget
it. Dude, hold on a minute. Seriously, I'm getting my pen. I might not, I don't know. I might not be able to remember this. You said I'd never forget. How do you say?
I said I'd never do it again, but I'll never forget it.
I'd never do it again. My wife because says, I don't know. I can apply that to a lot of things in life, and that makes me feel better about a lot of decisions that I've made I've made bad decisions, quote unquote, but I don't know. I think they were all perfect decisions now, but I'd never do it again. I mean, that's brilliant, man. I find it interesting. I'm just going to reflect upon the fact that this rapper Livestream is something organic. I'm not really sure what the format of the pretty show in the end is going to look like. This is just what we've got right now. And I've been having a lot of conversations. Should I do this? Should I do that? I've been having a lot. No, I don't like it because I'm talking to you. So, nah, I don't like it. So,
Yeah, do it.
What?
You make me do it.
I know I make you do it, but, you're the star of the show.
I am not.
What?
I am not the star of the show.
So the point is, I don't know really where all of this rapper live stream and where all of this journey that I've been going on, but it's been interesting because of what I'm finding is when I provide value, opportunities open. That's what I see. And I think that I see that in business. When you provide value, opportunities will open for you. And if you're willing to exchange at first, if you're starting from zero, if you're willing to exchange your energy, creativity, imagination, skill, right? If you're willing to trade that for something of value, it reminds me of the most. Okay, so my favorite book on making money is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. I've read all the classics, Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, all of them, right? The best book ever. Forget the law of attraction. They stole that idea from this, kind of. But The Science of Getting Rich is in there. And one of those principles of getting rich is this one. Give to people more in use value than you receive from them in monetary value. So if I sell a van wrap to somebody for $1,000, I love the fact that I am convinced it is very improbable that they wouldn't at least double their money on the investment in them investing in their own business. It's like a traveling billboard. It's an amazing marketing piece. So I am giving to them something that is greater to them in use value, because if they give me 1,000, they'll make 4, right? So I'm giving them something greater in use value than I'm taking from them in monetary value. I am convinced that we as an industry could charge twice. Whatever you think your pricing is, I bet you could charge twice and it would still be valuable enough for people to pay for it because of the value of what we offer as installers, graphics people, right? I feel like that's a piece of it. And that's really what you're saying. I am going to do a good deal in a way where I am going to take care of my customer. And I know that the money that I get out of it, it's not going to be as much as I'm going to give. Do you feel like that?
Yes. Long story short, yes. The thing that I'm learning nowadays is the value of service. You kind of brought that up earlier, but I don't think, and I think when we're talking about, I think off air about what is that word that we were playing around with? You said you invented it or not invented it, but you said you were talking about it. Oh,
tangential.
Oh, that's such a authentic. So I feel that same way that people use that word as a punchline now, that people don't understand what being of service is. I find that over the last 5 years that I've really sought out and talked to different people, most of the people have been willing to give of their time, give of their information, give of themselves to help. Now, I've come across the occasional, oh, I can't tell you this. This is proprietary bullshit. But for the most part, I think most people, especially in our industry, are they truly want to help. And the issue that we have is that, again, with anything in society, everyone is easily focused on the negative people or negative things as opposed to the more positive things. What I don't understand is it's super easy. There was a young lady, I don't even remember her name. She was on one of the boards that we were on the other day, and she was talking about, um, is it better to install with one person or many people or something like that? Or how long does it take to do a van one person versus many people? And a few people were like, well, I can do a van in this time and I can do a van in that time. And I was like, well, I can do a van as well easily myself, but I'd rather do three with three people than one with one person in the same time frame. So she messaged me offline or off the post, and she was like, well, is there anything you can tell me or any tips? So first I kind of asked, what experience she had and things like that. And then I just offered her some tips. I could have easily not answered that question and said, oh, well, she's going to be a competition someday, and not done it. The whole ideology of you developing competition, I don't know, man, that's a sticky subject for a lot of people because they don't want to help.
All right. Here's the deal. There is so much work to be done for customers. I'm telling you, all of the good, reputable companies, they have a schedule, and you're going to have to get on it. And
Right.
all of those reputable companies, they all say, we need more rappers. All of them. Every one of them. I haven't talked to one person, and I've recorded, I think, 12 episodes right now. It's June 2nd. I've recorded 12 episodes, and in one way or another, I have come to realize that they all say, we need more installers. So, knowing that, this is it's just a fact. Supply, demand, economical fact. We need more installers. So, you can't have competition, really, can you? Because you're going to have enough, they can have enough more. There's room for more. Come join this family. There's room for more. And you know what we're doing, and this is the coolest thing that I've seen in the industry as I've started to really connect with a lot of everyone, is a lot of everyone, I said that, but a lot of everyone is that the 15 years ago, 20 years ago, the rap industry was, that's infancy, man. Right before that, they pulled out a paintbrush, right? I mean, we are in the very, very beginning of something. So I rewind, 12 years or something, 15 years ago, and everybody, it makes sense. It's like, hey, man, I got this really cool skill. I got a cool toy. I'm not going to share. I get it. And there wasn't that family developed yet. There wasn't those relationships within the industry. There wasn't the recognition from everyone in the industry that we have enough work. I need help. I'll risk a year of paying you things for your training so you can leave. We were willing to take those risks as an industry.
So here's my thought on that. So
thought on which part? I said a lot of things, Joe.
But it circled around the same thing. Oh. The issue that I have with the training somebody and things of that nature is that I'm willing to do that. Right now, I just need steady work to be able to train consistently throughout that time. Now, Having said that, if I had to work to train consistently through that time, and then I utilize that installer, let's just say they intern for a year, or not an intern, but train for a year, get really good to where they can start doing stuff on their own, and they decide to leave. If I'm sleeping on my laurels and I go, okay, no problem, I'm going to depend on this one installer as a long-term thing and not grow my company, then when that one installer leaves, I'm fucked. But if you turn around and you develop a system, which you and I have talked extensively about, then that installer can train another installer, and then you start building a team. There are some.
How do you keep them? All right, if you're okay, wait. I want to do this. So you have two options if you're going to grow your business. You're either going to need to build relationships and or train other independent installers that you can bring in when you have enough jobs and sell enough. And then when you don't sell enough, you don't bring them in. You can do that. Or you can say, I'm going to have an employee where I'm going to give them a set salary or per hour. You could do all that. That's another way. So if you're going, and I have a favorite way, but if you're going to go down both of those roads, those are very different paths, right? As a business model, that's a very different path. You have a different thing with taxes. You have a different, there's a different dynamic that happens within the company. So here's my question. When you go down the path where you're going to grow your company by getting installers that you hire on staff, put on your payroll, if you're going to go down that road, how do you keep them from leaving?
So that's hypothetical for me because I've never had one.
So the answer for you is I don't know.
Right.
Okay.
So the answer I give to you be simply this. It's like any relationship that you're in. You have to cultivate it. You have to water it, do whatever you want to do. There's no promise that they're going to stay there. There's no promise that Heather's going to be here forever. It's just a working environment. So I can either choose to look at the negative, ultimate worst case scenario and they leave, or I just focus on doing what I got to do now and go from there. That's the bottom line. I can't, if you're going to always focus about the sky's falling, then the fucking sky's going to fall. Period.
Yeah, I would offer this up. I would say, and I'm totally brainstorming, kind of. It's not like I haven't thought about this like a lot. But how about this? How about if you're going to hire, the presupposition here is that the way you're going to grow your business is that you're going to hire somebody who doesn't know anything. You're going to invest your time while you pay them, because that happens. But while you pay them, and with them and your time, you're paying them. They're not giving any value to the whole organization. You're investing for future gain. That's what that is, essentially. That's right. Hey, maybe they're going to work out. It's all going to pay itself back because I know I'm going to take time and whatever. But what if you kept an open system where if you let them know up front, if this doesn't work out and you want to go on your own, then let me help you and you can become a contract employee for me to help when I only pay you when you do jobs. I don't want you to burn that bridge after. So maybe if you start with that, then maybe it'll just leave an open door for that relationship to continue, because I think the part that sucks about somebody leaving is that they're no longer ever available. Right? Isn't that the part that's like, wait a minute, like I did all this, but I can't have this resource that I invested in just go walking away. So how about let's find a way to find an agreement where we keep those relationships open and become more collaborative. Hey, man, if you want to start your own sign company after this, cool. Let me know, and maybe I'll help you. Because there is enough work for us. There's enough. So let's collaborate. Figure out how to put this all together. You see what I'm saying? Are we on the same page, man?
That sounds like a smart idea. I
don't know. It's just an idea.
I don't see where the downfall on that one's a little less is more minimal than the other one. So I actually like that idea because so they're not always going to have printers, they're not always going to have laminators, not always going to have that part. So if they decide to go off on their own and you do partner up with them, then you get their print business.
Do you want to know what my favorite idea is?
Sure.
I hope so, because I want to tell you. Okay. My favorite idea, my favorite model is this. And I'm going to contrast this with the fact that it is not uncommon for kids coming out of high school to go into debt and pay $100,000 for college, which will get them the guaranteed ticket of maybe they'll get a job that they'll end up hating, and they might have to live in their parents' basement until they're 30, right? But they'll still risk that, right? Why not we charge people and create small little like it's popping up. They're everywhere. You're going to see. They're coming. There's all these little educational centers, I would say, that are popping up. How about invest in your own future because you don't want to live in your mom's basement until you're 30? I promise you. Don't want to do that. And it's not because I did that. I'm just saying people don't smile a lot. So get out on your own and make your own independent way. Pay for your education. Go buy rap class education. If you want to get into it, pay for the Rap Institute. Pay. Find an instructor. Pay. Even pay for YouTube Premium so you can be more efficient with your time and watch more videos. Like all of it. Like invest in your future. And then what happens is you, sir, should get paid for teaching someone. And then along with that, you also give them the education of how to be an independent rapper, should they choose to be, so that they could become a dependable contractor for you later. And now, or, hey, our values are lined up. We're kind of the same family. I would love for you to come work with me. I've seen you in classes for the last 6 months. And I already have that relationship. The interview, solid. You know if it's going to work. And then, well, I think everybody can be happy that way, it seems. That's my vision for what I want, but I could be missing something.
So the thing that I see with that is that you're going to start over the next 6 months to a year, start seeing a ton of people coming out with training classes. Now, doesn't mean that those training classes are adequate. It doesn't mean that they're not. It doesn't mean that they're going to teach you good things or bad things. It just means that it's similar to like business coaches. Like the influx of business coaches across the board in general. It used to be like 1 or 2 people in every state, and they were like $7,000 a session. Now they're $7,000, or what is it, 4 or 5, 40,000 to 15,000, upwards of $30,000 a month, depending on who you get. So they're like a dime a dozen now. Now you have to actually go out there and vet which ones are good and which
Well,
ones.
and I think you should vet what kind of education system you get too. So I'll ask.
But what you're doing, how do you know what's good?
We're telling them. So why don't you tell me, if you were starting off and you were going to learn, how would you learn? Where would you go? Who would you pay? Who would you ask to help? What would you do?
So for me, I would go by who has the example. Like like I did in the very beginning. I had 5 people that I wanted to meet. I've met all except for one of them. And so I went out there because they're the names in the business. And so you go out there, you learn them, you talk to them, you have personal conversations with them, and then that's how you're doing your vetting on that. As far as talent wise, again, I'd have to see the proof is in the pudding. You got to go find out who's actually doing raps, who's not just doing raps for Instagram or YouTube, who's doing raps that are quality raps, and who has successful businesses. Now, those all have to go in together, because somebody can have a successful business and have no idea how to rap, and somebody can rap and have no idea how to have a successful business. So, it's one of those things where you have to, man, there's just so much. There's just so much groundwork, but you can't pick the flashiest ad. You can't pick the the next up and coming, thing that's coming out. You're going to have to do your research. For me, I just went the first thing that I went to, because I've been using the product all my life, was 3M certification. So when I went to go get 3M preferred, that was because that's what I used the most, and so that's where I started. I was scheduled to do a few more, and then COVID hit. So I'm still going to go back and get those. But it's just one of those things where I don't know, man. It's there's
So how would you vet them then? If you're going to look, if I'm going to be shopping for places and I'm going to do searches on the internet, there might be people that you know or connections just whatever. If somebody wants to get started, what do they do?
it starts with a phone call and
Yeah, where though?
What do you mean where?
Well, like you should probably check out PDAA.
For me, PDAA is a great. I mean, I'm master certified through PDAA, but if you really want the hands-on one-on-one or stuff like that, like I'm going to use, let's just say, somebody in the industry that everybody knows. So you have Kevin Kemp out of New Orleans. So you call, I mean, first off, send him an email, find out what his email address is, or, figure out how to get in touch with him, and then ask him a few questions. How did you get into it? What are you doing? Where do you think the best place to go and train, whatever. So at the end of the day, like you said, people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on colleges, and your ideology of where they come out of with the early 1980s, where now colleges with degrees, and they're not even working in their same.
Hey Joe, I think you should call back.
Huh?
You should hang up the phone and you should call back.
Okay.
Connection is fine.
Okay.
So this is what it looks like when Joe's not here on my end. I have so many ideas. I think we could brainstorm the shit out of this whole thing. Like I had an idea about why not, if you want to get into the rap industry, do a bunch of research, build a little list of the people you think it'd be cool to talk to, and then call them and say, I really want to get into the industry. What do you think I should do? You call enough of those people, well, you'll probably find somebody who really does want to genuinely help. And when you find someone that genuinely helps, how about this? How about you just tell them, I want to come work for you for free. and I want to learn everything I can, but I don't want to waste your time because I respect your time and your skill. And I'll just kind of do whatever you want. You need me to peel that vinyl off for like a long time? Go ahead. I'll do that. I'll be your apprentice. And then maybe you'll learn something and you could build yourself a little career. Get out of your mom's basement. I don't know why I keep referring to the guys with it. Yeah. I don't know why I keep referring to people because you know what it is? Because it's so common. Like, what the hell is it with the young kids these days? Like, you fucking serious? Like, I told my son, too, he'd graduate in high school. His last day was today. And so essentially he's graduated high school. You're 18. You can visit, but you got to figure out how to be on your own. Because here's what I know about people. They're going to rise to your level of expectation. So I've set the expectation to my son. You know, it's time for you to go be an adult. But it seems that there's this trend among the kids these days, right? I mean, I'm the old guy now saying kids these days. But, dude, seriously, you're going to have to do something with your time, man. Why not make it valuable? And you can do that by serving other people with a really cool, fun skill. Make things look cool. Anyway, I'm done with my little rant. It's nice to have you back, Joe.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Had to change a couple of different things.
So what else do you want to talk about? The original intent was we're going to get to the original intent. The original intent was, let's talk about what it takes to take a small business from the time that you are just by yourself. That could be printing, that could be installing, whatever. I mean, that could be anything by yourself. How do you take something that is from by yourself and grow it to the point where you can make your dreams come true like they told you about in E-Myth and all of the other things, 4-Hour Workweek, about building a system, right? So that you can leverage your time. But there's a chasm, is there not, between solopreneur and business owner that has something that's producing value with residual income? There's a chasm in between those, and you are facing that journey right now. We've talked about that, and I don't think you'll mind me saying, right?
Nope.
So, what do you feel like the challenges are? As I understand it, Joe, you are in a position where you really want to grow your business. You've been doing this a long time, but you're starting to want to see a bigger picture, but don't know all of the tools that it might take to bridge that chasm. Is that the space that you're in?
Yeah, I think so. The biggest thing for me is the vision. So everybody talks about having a clear vision. Well, my vision looks more like you put on somebody's glasses that aren't yours. So it's blurry. You can kind of make out what everything's there, but it's not crystal clear. So again, when you talk to different people, they all throw around these words like systems, org charts, P&Ls, all the things that normal people will talk about in business. But I literally, even if I went to go and get the yellow book, the Business 101 for Dummies, probably still wouldn't understand it. It probably confused me even more. But
oh my God, I want to talk about all those things.
Through our conversation, when we were talking about it, you kind of made a couple of things extremely crystal clear for me as far as the tasks at hand. Because
can you talk about that conversation? Go ahead, tell them everything.
So when we were talking about it, we had to start back at, like, when I talk about basics, we had to start back at square one. Number one, we talked about what I didn't have: systems, procedures, things like that, how to make the day-to-day business go if I wasn't there. Huh?
Checklists.
Yeah, checklists. That was big. And so when I understood what that meant, I went, put together a piece of pen and paper, because that's kind of like how I like to do things, and just started writing down what each individual task had, whatever that was, whether it be design, sales, incoming sales, production, install. And so I got to see a different picture. Like today, I was printing something today, and on my rough draft of my system for production, I didn't even have all the buttons that I needed to push on the printer to get it ready. So I started trying to put those in on a piece of paper of, okay, so because on, just for an example, on my production I put load media. Well, there's a lot of things that go along with loading media, like what settings you put your printer on, how to set it up. So there, if I were just to put,
wait a minute. So, okay, back up to the conversation. Originally, in that first conversation that we had, I said first thing that you need to do is figure out what your values of your company are, the culture, mission, all that really high level stuff, because all of your decisions will be based on that in the beginning. And then I said what you need to do is get a small vision of what the next step of your company looks like. Put an org chart together, and you're going to fill out, if you had 7 blocks, you're going to, right now, if you're a solopreneur, you're doing 6 of them. And then this other one's just somebody helping you, right? So you're going to do them all. But then eventually you figure out which block needs to be filled next based on certain needs, which is a different set of criteria. But you figure that out, right? And then you go, okay, who do I need to replace? Now, how do I get enough income to replace my time with them? Because the reality is it's an opportunity cost. If you're going to try to be everybody, then you're losing out on all the opportunity of what can happen if you actually let go and try to trust other people to do as good or better than you, right? So anyway, I digress. But then I told you the next thing to do is you need to write out a system. You need to say, hey, look, remember the concepts too. I want to, dude, all the stuff that I told you, only because it seemed to really help you, I think it's worthy of repeating. If that's okay, we can go through it. Yeah. So I explained that you've got the front of house in a business and the back of house, kind of like a restaurant. You have there's a system for what the hostess says to you, right? Where they seat you, how they seat you, what do they say when you're ready to give them the bill, all of these things. What's the policy if they argue, right? They're essentially rules of a game. That's it. The back of the house, though, totally different. They got tickets flying everywhere. It's a chaotic environment, it seems, right? So front of house, back house. Front of house is what your company and its brand personality is going to be to the world and how you're going to receive them. That's why you should have a different system in your business for your commercial clients and your vanity wrap clients. It's a totally different system because they have different needs. They need to be served differently. But then the back of the house, maybe you can put those things together. But there's going to have to be a system of how everyone is communicating and tracking these things. So then what I encouraged you to do was just write a flow for the front of the house and the back of the house. The flow for the front of the house is going to be a customer comes in, this is what happens to them. Imagine that interaction. Then what happens? Do they get an email? Does this get communicated to the designer or another customer service person, right? You figure out, do that, and then figure out how to connect those connection pieces. So that's the ultimate goal and where we're going with all of this. But what you did, do you have that journal close?
Sort of. It's in my truck.
Then don't worry about it. But it was cool because he did it. He took it and he goes, okay, a customer comes in. If it was almost like an if this, then that. If this, then this happens. If then from there, if this happens, then this happens. If it doesn't happen, it's just zeros and ones, right? You just build that process together. So, and you did it. And you've been in business for, you said 17 years?
21.
20, where the fuck did I get 17 from? 21 years. Huh?
Lots of numbers were flying around earlier.
So 17 years, and you're willing to say, hey man, how do I build this thing next? And I just love that, because what it shows is that you've got this tenacity to stick in there and at the same time be open to growing to be a bigger version of yourself, right?
Well, we talked about that elusive why, and I didn't understand that. Everybody uses the fact that you want to do it for your family and stuff like that, and that's what I mean, ultimately I want to be able to provide for my family. I want to be able to have my wife come work for me if she wants to, have my wife go and pick up dogs.
Does she want to come work with you?
Yes.
Oh my God,
and
that's sweet.
Yeah, it is. But she also needs a sense of security there, which right now isn't quite there yet. So I understand that completely and fully take responsibility for that. So I'm working extremely hard to get to that point. But there's been a couple of occasions where, well, the whole LA Pugs, she wanted to go with that, but she had to ask, permission from her, her boss. And so with the flights that were coming in from China, they weren't always consistent, or they weren't always predictable. So sometimes there's a last minute thing. Well, I want to be able to give her a position to where it really won't matter what the time, place, or thing is. If she wants to go, she can go. So, but that's, again, like I said, that's always my forethought. But when we were talking, if the bigger why, or not the bigger, but the why came out, that I know that there are more people like me than not in business that just quit because they've run out of money. They're way upside down in their rent and everything else. But if I can finally understand this whole business thing, I know, and sure as shit could teach somebody else how to do it once I get there. And when you and I kind of came up with that ideology, dude, that kind of like was like, wow, that's super cool. Because again, there are more people in business like me than not, and they just get frustrated because they don't understand the quote unquote business end of it. But if I can end up finally understanding that part, man, I sure as shit want to go ahead and help somebody else out with that.
Well, I think that the coolest thing is I am totally confident in your ability and your connections with the level of curiosity and openness that you have. You're going to find all of those answers, and you're going to solve any of the problems that you see. And it seems to me that being an entrepreneur, especially, but also being a business owner, they are different. All you kind of do is solve problems. That's really that's what you do every day. Oh, we have a problem. Oh, better fix the system, which is nothing more than the communication system of, hey, let's make sure that Jane talks to, I don't know, Doris. There's no Janes and Dorises probably in the rap industry. Maybe there is. If your name is Jane or Doris, leave it in the comments below. Fucking, I don't know if I can do this YouTube shit though, man. Like all this, like subscribe and like. I don't know if I can do it. I think I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna be like, they told me I was supposed to put that shit there. I don't know.
You gotta do your hand like this. You gotta.
Dude,
I wouldn't even know where to put my hand.
I don't know. Oh, in this video, I don't know. I know I'm supposed to do all that, but I think I would just rather try to make this actually have enough value that if you want to fucking subscribe, you're going to subscribe because you actually want to see it and you want to get notified because, you know, you like this stuff, you know, right. Instead of let me just talk you into it. And I don't know. And you know what? I'm just putting it on the record. I'm probably going to be a hypocrite at one point. I'm going to do it. But when I do, just know I'm doing it just because they told me to. So I want to clear up some things. I mean, I know we've been going. Are you okay to keep talking?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So you said that there's some basic business terms that you needed to start to learn to wrap your head around. And what are some of those terms of some of the foundations of the system of a business that you've heard that you've either worked through or are working through?
So first off, the biggest one that everybody talks about is knowing your numbers.
What does that mean?
That phrase in knowing your numbers is knowing your profit and loss, what your margins are, if your company is profitable, what if it's not. And again, you're talking to somebody who is on the first grade side of this. I haven't even gotten through elementary school yet, but I'm working on it. But what I did do was hire a bookkeeper / accountant to help me with those things. I was told a couple of times, and then you kind of reiterated it the last time we spoke. And you're like, you need to know at least the gist of what those numbers are, but let somebody know what they're doing. Let them do it. And so that's something that my accountant and I are talking about.
Can you say that a different way? Try.
Okay. Find the people that are good at doing something and let them do it.
Let go of control and let them do it better than you. Yes.
Right. And so that's one of the things that I'm working on is letting go of the control to do that. The issue that I had was a number of years back, you and I talked about this, but a number of years back, I wanted to have control of all the installs and everything else because I wanted to make the money there and I wanted to make the money here. And so I would only allow my installer to do half of it so I could make the money on the install. And then I just one day was like, I'm just going to go ahead and let my installer just start doing the installs from front to bin, from top to bottom, let him do them. And when I did that, it freed up time for me to do designs, do paperwork, other things like that. The issue that I was having was that we were talking about those big waves where I would have a lot of business in, then we do all the business, and then there would be nobody doing sales, nobody doing design, nobody doing marketing, nobody doing anything like that. So then I'd have to go down to the very bottom, start drumming up business and coming back and starting all that again, and then it just kept becoming a repetitive cycle. Now it's the cycle still, but the highs and lows and the dips and peaks aren't as drastic as they were. So I still handle 90%, or I should say 95% of all the contract installations that I get hired out to do, because they're expecting me to do those. They're expecting me to be on those contracts. So I will go out on those. It's very rare that I don't do that. That I farm them out to somebody else.
Why do they expect that it's only going to be you to do those installs?
I didn't say they expected that. I just said for me, they're hiring me to do the install. Now,
no, but when they Okay, so that's what I'm saying is that when somebody calls you, they go, yeah, they're going to hire you. Who is this customer? I guess that's the first question. Who's the customer? Maybe so I understand it better. When they hire you, who's that customer?
Other companies that are across the nation.
Other signing graphics installation
Other wrap companies.
Other wrap companies. Got
Right.
it. Okay, so that's the difference is if you're a small business owner and you sell a wrap job to a guy and then you say, yeah, we'll get that installed for you. That customer knows he's dealing with the business and it's not necessarily the owner or whomever, that's going to install it. So that's different than the frame that you're talking about where you're saying, no, when somebody's hiring me as a contract installer, they're hiring me.
Right.
Like that's a different, and I just think it's important for everybody to understand that's why you're having the quandary because you can't just, I mean, you could tell them, well, I got this other guy. You could tell them that, but you'd have to be upfront about it if they thought that they were hiring you. So I just wanted to clarify.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm working on. But building relationships over the last 5 or 6 years, I've built a relationship as me, not as me as the owner of Image Graphics, which I'm working on now, which to me is more important because that means that they're hiring Image Graphics as their installation company, not me. So that goes back to putting together the team and not a bunch of contract installers for that purpose.
So what do you want to be when you grow up, Joe?
My wife just said rich.
I mean, it would solve some problems.
That's a wow.
How about this? Let me ask it this way. This might be a little weird way to ask, but let me ask it this way. What do you already know you're going to be when you grow up?
Somebody that helps a lot of people.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about one person. I'm talking about someone that's going to help a lot of people.
Yep. And do you see yourself in that picture? Do you see yourself talking to other people while you're helping them? Do you feel yourself writing a book to help them? How do you feel like you're going to help them? What do you are you
probably initially talking to them?
Yep.
I think eventually, once enough people hear either the story or the words that I have to say, then maybe a book. But I've never thought about writing a book, to be quite honest with you.
I think that people want to connect with people that they know are genuine. And that's one thing I know about you. I have learned that about you, that I guess I can't imagine someone more genuine. Like I can't go, oh, well, Joe would seem more genuine if he did this. I can't come up with anything. Like there's nothing on the list. So, and the reality is that in today's society, as I see it, and it's just my reality picture, I understand. But it seems to me that people really want genuine connection with real people. People need to know that they're not alone because they've been separated by social media and fake shit all over the place and lied to every fucking day from all the media channels, even the influencers that are lying to you. So, they want real. And here's what you have. You have real. That's what you have. And I really think that for you. Like, I listen to the way you talk, and I want to listen to you. And what you say and the way you try to say it actually connects. It does. It connects. So I think that that's where you're going, and I think that you're going to make it. But can you tell me what a profit and loss statement is?
Not exactly. I can tell you in the gist of it.
Let's start there, because I think...
Okay. So the gist of it is all of your cost of goods, all of your cost of doing business. Take that.
Is that a pug I hear? Go ahead,
Yes.
sorry.
That was a pug snort. And you take that and you take all the sales that you do, you subtract the two, and you'll get either a profit or a loss. All your consumables, all your cost of doing business, everything else. And then you take those two numbers from all the sales that you have, and then you'll have whether you make a profit or a loss. That's the way I understand it in the very generic form of it.
That is one other reason why I think that you'll be really good at helping a lot of people, because that's all it is. It's this much amount of money comes out, and this amount comes in, and this is at the bottom. Just start there, right? You can do forecasts based on sales and all these other things, but a profit and loss system is basically your cash flow. It's the cash flow. That's what it is. So, do you know what a balance sheet is? Because those two are the foundational. They are the scorekeepers when it comes to money.
So when it comes down to it, I think the balance sheet would be similar to maybe like a checkbook, where you have your things going out, your things going in. That's what your balance is.
Nope.
Okay, so then I'm
I'll
wrong.
get to explain it to you.
Yay.
Live on the I'd Wrap That live stream. Yeah. So, sorry. I got carried away. I felt like a rock star for a second. So a balance sheet is there. I'll say it this way. There is a difference between assets and currency. Okay? If you have an asset, if you have a boat, you can't chip off a piece of the boat and hand it to somebody and have them give you a sandwich. Right? But that's a boat. And if you own it free and clear and it's yours and it's worth $2,000, that would be an asset. A liability is debts that you owe. That's the minus. So it's similar to a profit and loss in that it's expenses, right? Plus income, or expenses minus income, however you want to look at it. In the same way, the balance sheet is for assets and liabilities, pluses and minuses of things that you own and things that you owe. So if you make a little list, if you want to know what your balance sheet is, it's this simple. Make a list and make a row of something that you own and put a value on it. If you own a car that's worth $3,000, the car is $3,000. But then in the liabilities, if you have a loan on that car that has a balance of $2,000 to be paid, you put, all right, car loan, $2,000. The difference between those is that you actually have an asset that's worth $1,000 at this point, because 3 minus 2 is 1. Right? That's it. So you can find out that is actually, if you talk about, it's only one definition of wealth. It's only one frame. I can think of 4 more. But one definition is, I got more pluses on my balance sheet at the end than I do minuses. That's it. And then you know that you are in a healthy financial position. It's one. It's only one factor. So the cash flow is the record of the currency that's flowing through the system of your life. And the balance sheet is just a record of the assets that you have and the liabilities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they're good exercises to do. It's just one scorecard of one game. That's what it is. So, what other can we talk about? KP? Oh, Jesus. Nah, we started this at 7:30.
How about this?
Let's
talk about a question that you got really passionate about the other day.
Oh, Jesus.
The difference between an entrepreneur,
okay,
and somebody who owns a business.
Okay. Do you want a short summary or do you want me to just go off?
It's up to you, bro. It's your show.
Yeah, it's our show, but dude, I bought these Pringles because I hadn't eaten all day, and I know that they're going to cause me suffering.
Is it cold over here?
Like defiling myself with food products. It's not even food, man. Anyway, so the difference between a business owner and entrepreneur. Well, there's a lot of business owners. And a business owner is someone who owns, I don't know, you know what a business owner, no, I want to go off, I guess. A business owner is someone who understands how to take a collection of effort by a team of people and deliver a product to someone at a price that allows him to support the organization of those people. That's a business owner. A self-employed person is just somebody who trades time for money. But anyway, that's a business owner. Now, there's a lot of those. A lot of, plumbers, electricians. I'm a construction guy deep down. That's what my degree's in. But I always think about those kind of guys. But those people can go out and they can trade time for money. Musicians can do the same thing. Whatever. Independent, blah, blah, blah. That's a solopreneur. But it's not preneur because they're not entrepreneurs. You can be freelance person and own your own, self and value, I suppose, the core of it. But, so that's a business owner. But an entrepreneur is someone who connects dots and sees things that can happen and gets excited about those puzzles and understands the vision of how to put and assemble of people together and excited about a vision for a little while. And then what they do is they go, I'm bored. I need to do something else. Or I'm still supporting that first thing, but I need to go in this other direction. And that's an entrepreneur. Now you can, and I think important in this conversation is what is an implementer? Again, referencing Gino Wickman, the book Traction, read it, especially if you have a company that has 5 or more people. He says 10. I say 5. Start early. Start getting the habits right. Anyway, that's my thing. But Entrepreneurial Leap, that's another one. But Gino taught me how an implementer and an entrepreneur need to find each other. And you can find each other in yourself in the beginning. Most entrepreneurs, I think, this is just me, not him. I think if you have enough entrepreneur and enough implementer in you, you can make it to that 5-year mark where you know that your business might make it. Right? Most of them fail. But if you have enough in you to do that, then you can do implementation and vision at the same time. But eventually you'll have to decide if you're an implementer or an entrepreneur. And implementers are amazing, and they're rare. A good one, especially. But an entrepreneur has a vision, builds a machine, builds a system, says this is how this goes, and the implementer goes, I can do that, and I can do that every week. You want this done Monday at 2 o'clock? I'm consistent as hell. I'm doing that. oh, you need this project done and these people assigned to do these things? Psh, I got it. I can tell them, I'll keep them on track. That's an implementer. Without a good implementer, either inside yourself or from someone else, the entrepreneur is worthless. Worthless. You have to have a good implementer if you've got enough in you in there. But eventually what's going to happen is your business is going to grow and you're going to have to pick one, entrepreneur or implementer. So that'll end up happening. So that's the difference between implementer, entrepreneur, and what was the other one?
Business owner.
Business owner. They're solopreneur too. You know, a freelance guy. But yes, so that's really the difference. And here's my point of value that I feel is very important, that I don't know why it's happening, but I really feel this conviction to get the message out that if you are not an entrepreneur, which is only about 2% of all population, by the way, 2%. So change your fucking bio, okay? An entrepreneur is a personality style, and you either have that or you don't. But if you don't have that in you, fucking be grateful, because your life can be amazing too. So I just feel, and you know, there's some stuff about entrepreneurs that aren't that great. What do you think is not great about an entrepreneur, Joe?
The fact that you are, for lack of a better term, you're OCD about all the projects that you have. That once you get to one, you got to bounce another, you got to bounce another, and you got to bounce another one.
What don't you think is good about that?
I think that everything takes time to grow. And so I think a lot of times if you bounce because you're bored, or you bounce because you just got to go to the next one, there's not going to be enough time to make that particular project grow.
So how do people that want to get over that weakness piece in them, like, maybe I'll be more direct. Well, then how did I fucking do it?
I think that you built systems and checklists around the actual business itself to where if you did decide to bounce, it could still continue to grow without you there.
And you have to invest in people.
Right.
Yeah. Without them, well.
But see, I also think that whenever envy is a wrong word, but for lack of a better word, there's an envy there that there's a level of detachment that you have that I don't. So
what do you mean?
So it's very, to me, and again, this is an assumption completely. When I hear you talk about your business, it almost sounds like it's very clinical. Everything is X's and O's. Everything is a business is a business is a business is a business. Remember, we talked about the widgets. You could do anything you want with any widget. So there's no emotional attachment. It's very clinical. So everything is just a business. So whether you're selling tires, whether you're in construction, or whether you have Xeno signs, business is business for you. There's no real difference in the widget. For me, it feels like there's an emotional tie to the particular business of Final Wraps.
That is very astute observation. And I would be honest about it. If signing graphics industry disappeared for me tomorrow, I got like 7 other businesses I could start. I don't care. I'm okay with that. Because
right,
that's your point. Yeah, that makes sense. Because what I love, here's what I love. I love the puzzle of the system. I mean, I've had a bunch of other businesses before, most of which failed before the signing graphics industry, and I love the puzzle of it. You know?
So that's where for me it's reversed. So because I'm emotionally invested in my business. Matter of fact, I was talking to my daughter about this today while she was cutting my hair. She asked me if I ever wanted to sell, or if I ever thought about selling my company. And if you'd have asked me 10 years ago, I would have told you you're absolutely fucking out of your mind. Like, I would never sell my baby. I built this thing up from the ground up, from zero, like literally zero. So I would never want to do that. Now, to me, that's almost like, cool, somebody come buy my business, because look at what I'm going to go start next.
It reminds me, it seems to me that businesses are like the evolution of us. We're an infant, and we are infinite, but we're an infant, and we need a lot of care, a lot of attention, and then the child grows and it doesn't know what it's going to be, and you go through those rebellious times and those really hard times, but then when the business grows up and it becomes an adult business, I always call it a big boy business. And when it becomes an adult, then maybe it can be okay for you to let that go. And I think that maybe what you've learned, it's not that I don't care about my businesses. I really do. It's not that it's heartless, because I'll put heart into everything that I'm doing. But I think that what it is that I realize it's just a business. It's a function. It's a machine. And yes, it needs to be filled with heart. And yes, it has to be doing that. But my identity doesn't connect. Like when you said, I would never sell my business. I built this that was your identity, right? And selling your business would have felt like you were selling your identity, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was like, again, it was that situation. And like I said, I don't think that you have a lack of care. I just think that it's the only word I can use to describe it. And again, like I said, there's a bit of envy there, that it's very clinical. There's a very direct approach, and there's a direct outcome to everything that you're doing. So
I can tell you how I did it. I know exactly what did that to me. What did that to me was the too many moments of feeling like, because my business was difficult and it sometimes felt like it was failing, I felt like I was failing, until I realized that this new business is just a machine that needs to be upgraded. It needs to be fixed. It needs to have some problems worked on it. But that machine of this business is not who I am. And I had to disconnect from that, because to connect yourself, it's almost like saying I'm an adult and this little toddler who's helpless, because I have to help this little toddler, I'm helpless. It doesn't make any sense. The business is this child that you grow up. And if it's connected with you that intimately that it's your identity, I'll just say you make worse decisions. You're less open to things. But when you look at it like, hey, this is a machine that we can build and we can make a great thing, then with a level of detachment, then I think that you can like a child, let them grow up to be what they're going to be, right? Be open to the fact that this thing that you're building might have a different will. You're going to you get 4 more employees that got their ideas. You better fucking listen to them. And they might say, hey, we should go do this. The new kids could come out with some things tomorrow, right? And hey, maybe we should check that out. Always being open to that. And I think that's the piece that does it. But what it was, my point, is that I had to let go of my business so I didn't hate myself when it was hard. I had to disconnect because I was so connected and so invested in it. And it was almost like, if this business fails, then I am a failure forever. But you know what I did? I failed at a lot of businesses. I mean, I don't know, a couple $100,000 in debt before I was like 26, investing all that money into businesses that failed. You know, I mean, it was just, I got used to that. And you have to disconnect from that, where it's not going to be connected to your identity. Or frankly, man, you're just not going to be fucking happy. You're tired. We're done. Are we done?
I'm not tired. I'm just yawning. It's a long day.
All right. Well, I could keep going, but I don't know. And I think these are important things to talk about. You know, it really does revolve around our original topic when we said, "Hey, man, let's get to talk about what it's like to go from like 1 to 5 employees." That chasm. You know, you got to start doing things like taking time to be quiet. You've been working, trading time for money. Yes, because you had to survive. Yes. But you know what? You need to put on an entrepreneur hat for a little while. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, play one. You can play one for a little bit. So put your hat on, entrepreneur hat, and you need to sit down and quiet, and you need to write out some plans, and you need to start having some vision about what's going to be coming, and then know that it might feel like a waste of time to write out like all those little org charts that you did and whatever. You're like, there's a voice that goes, fuck, you could be doing some work right now. You could be making some money. You could be doing things to make you not feel so afraid of, you know, not being able to pay your mortgage this month, whatever it might be. And spend some time and think. Thinking and being quiet is going to help your business more than anything. It takes me like 4 hours of being awake until I feel like I can talk to another human being. Like, I need time to write, I need time to read, I need time to meditate, I need to take care of me, you know? And in those moments, having those visions about what you could do, is you have to have some guidance, and the guidance is going to come ultimately from inside, and you shutting the fuck up and listening. You already know, like I told you, dude, I was like, hey, man, write out a system. I go, the thing that's awesome about you've been in this business for 17 years. I remembered. You've been in this business for 17 years. You already know all the answers. You know the customer experience you want to get. You know what you value. You know what your mission is. You know how to execute all of the little details. You already know. So just build your system. Write it down. Make little policies, you know. So anyway, you got it, man. You're going to do it.
We'll get there. And like I said, I appreciate the time that I got to talk with you. And I mean, when we have our one-on-one conversations and stuff like that, and being on your show is pretty cool as well. I mean, you don't always get to be on a YouTube show.
Yeah, I guess that's what's coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time.
But no, I appreciate it. All the dogs appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to have a talk with my wife about getting more dogs.
There's 1, there's 2. So that's Stitch.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He'll be at the show. So.
That's awesome. Well, I will see you in like 10 days.
6 days? No, 10 days. That's right.
Yeah. See you down there, man.
When are you getting in?
I don't know. I don't think till Monday.
Okay. Well, we'll get there.
I'll see you there.
We'll touch base. I'm sure we'll talk before then.
All right, cool.
Later.